Good morning, dear children. Welcome to our history lecture. We were discussing about applied history, that is the third chapter in our history textbook. We have discussed about what is applied history. We have discussed applied history and research in various fields, and we have discussed applied history and our present as well. We are supposed to start with history, management of cultural and natural heritage. That is 3.4, which is on your page number 17. So open page number 17 of your textbook or PDF, or you can share my screen as usual. 3.4, Management of Cultural and Natural Heritage. Cultural heritage. It is the form of human creation. It is of two types, that is tangible and intangible. Tangible means that which we can see with our eyes, and intangible is which we cannot see. Tangible cultural heritage. This type of cultural heritage includes ancient sites, buildings, artifacts, manuscripts, sculptures, paintings, etc. Now, this type of tangible heritage which we can see with our eyes includes ancient sites, old sites, like we have seen the Harappan site. Of cultural heritage includes ancient sites, buildings, artifacts are ornaments, tools, or other objects made by human beings. So the things, tools or ornaments which were made by the human beings in the ancient times, those are our cultural heritage. Those are the part of our cultural heritage. Manuscripts are those things which can be a book, a document, a piece of music written by hand, not typewritten. In those times, in those earlier ancient times, there was no typewriters or no computers, or there was no system to get the things typed. Those were generally handwritten. So those handwritten manuscripts, sculptures are carvings, you all know that, paintings, etc. So these include tangibles with cultural heritage, the cultural heritage which we can see with our eyes. Next is the intangible cultural heritage. This type of cultural heritage includes the following things. What all is included in the intangible cultural heritage? That cultural heritage which we cannot see with our eyes. It includes oral traditions and their language. Oral traditions, verbally whatever was said traditionally, what the language you can say, then their words different, or anything which is in the form of verbal, oral. Traditional knowledge, whatever traditional knowledge was there with our ancestors, and that was transferred to the next generations, that is also included in an intangible cultural heritage. Social customs and rituals of celebrating festival. Now the festivals are different festivals are celebrated in different parts of our country. So how that particular festival is celebrated, or what are the customs, what are the rituals. Rituals is the series of actions performed in a prescribed order. So you can say a wedding ritual. So during a wedding, you must be knowing that so many people have so many different ways or different rituals to be followed at the time of wedding. So these, and most of the times we see that our grandmothers or great grandmothers, whoever are there, we take their help, we take their guidance, and under their guidance and as they direct us to do those things, we perform. So social customs and rituals of celebrating festivals. Style of performing arts. Performing arts include those arts which are to be seen live, like dance, music. So these live, when we see, when they are being performed, that those are called as performing arts. So dance styles, you must be knowing there are so many dance styles. Last year we have studied, I guess, this in the 9th standard. Bharatnatyam, Kathakali, Odissi, these are the traditional dance forms of those particular regions. So those forms are also intangible cultural heritage. certain traditional skills, then communities, groups who present such traditions, customs and skills. Natural heritage. The concept of natural heritage gives importance to the thought of biodiversity. It includes the following things. Biodiversity means biologically which are different, very different from each other, but they are natural as well. So, naturally things which are available but they are very different in nature or they are very different biologically, those are included in this. For example, fauna. Fauna is the animals of particular region, habitat, or a geographical period, during a geographical period. So animals of particular region, you can see that not all animals are found in all the regions. Like polar regions, we have polar bears which we do not find in the other regions. So depending upon the climatic conditions and other geographical conditions, these different types of animals are found in different regions, and therefore a particular region or has a particular habitat depending upon the geographical climatic conditions or geographical reasons of that particular area. Flora relates to the animals, fauna relates to the animals, whereas flora relates to the plants of particular region. Now again, you must have learnt in geography that different types of plants are seen in different regions. The plants which are seen in the polar regions are not seen in the tropical regions, and which are seen in the tropical regions are not seen in the equatorial regions. So there are so many different types depending on types of plants which grow naturally in different areas depending upon the geographical conditions. Ecology and geology. Ecology is the relation of organisms with one another and surrounding as well. So ecology means the relation of the living beings with one another and with the surrounding as well. Then and geomorphic characteristics, which is crucial for sustaining the flora and fauna of the particular region. Now geomorphic characteristics, that is the relation to the relating to the form of landscape and other natural features. Now the type of animals and plants which are found and the habitat which they live in or the ecology is all related. Ecology and the geomorphic, the plants and animals that are available or that are naturally seen in a particular region depends largely upon the ecology, that is their relation with one another, and the geomorphic, that is the landscape or the natural features. So that depends largely on, these are largely dependent on one another. It is essential for the benefit of future generations to preserve our heritage. UNESCO, the global organization, has announced some directives with the objective of promoting the cultural and natural heritage. On the basis of those directives, list of sites and traditions are declared as World Heritage. Now we have a global organization called as UNESCO, and the UNESCO decides it has announced some directives, like on which criteria, based on which criteria the natural heritage sites would be declared as national heritage sites and which will not be a part of it. So this organization gives the directive on based on those directives. There is a list of sites and traditions that are declared as World Heritage Sites. In the list of UNESCO's World Natural Heritage now includes Western Ghats. The Khas Plateau in the district Satara is also a part of the Western Ghats. Now children, on this page, that is page number 18, you'll see there are a list of the Indian traditions declared as oral and intangible heritage. Oral is verbal and intangible, that is which we cannot see. So these are the things which are these Indian traditions are declared as oral and intangible heritage. So you are going to read this all. And next is the World Cultural Heritage Sites of India. Again you are going to read this. Out of this pink box, World Cultural Heritage Sites of India are a bit important, which can be asked in the exam. There is a question based on that, I guess. Then there is a blue box called as the World Natural Heritage Sites. These are not these are the World Heritage Site Natural Heritage Sites. And then there is only one mixed, that is 2016, in the green box. You are going to read this entire page twice or thrice. Come to page number 19. This is the Kailasha temple in Verul. Cultural and natural heritage management is one of the main aspects of applied history. The work of conservation and preservation of the cultural heritage falls under the jurisdiction of the Archaeological Survey of India and India State Departments of Archaeology. Now, the cultural and natural heritage sites which we have seen are of very great importance in the view of preserving them. They should be preserved, they should be well maintained, so that uh, they can be available there for our next generations as well. So it is so preservation and conservation of these natural heritage sites is very important. So preservation means maintaining those sites, the maintenance work, like whatever we have to maintain. You have to maintain your cycle. It is like when you are not riding your bicycle, it is not you just dump it anywhere. You don't take care of it. You wash it regularly, you oil it regularly, and you whenever you need it, so that whenever you use it, it runs very smoothly. So similarly, our natural heritage sites also should be maintained in a good condition, so that our next generation also has the curiosity to know more about it, and have some more information about about those sites. And they should be, of course, very proud to have these heritage sites or these sites as a part of their own tradition and culture. Conservation means prevention of wasteful use. So whatever is the use of that, it should be used accordingly. Like museums, for example, if we consider, then the museum should be well maintained, so that they are very informative, and they are not spoiled in any ways, or the things which are kept in the museum for display should not be tampered, which should not be damaged in any ways. So prevention of these instruments, or prevention of this of all the things which are available as a natural heritage site or cultural heritage site, should be well maintained, and it should be preserved from being wastefully used, or preserved from being badly used or not properly used. The work of conservation, sorry, intact, that is the Indian National Trust of Art and Cultural Heritage, is actively working in this field. The work of conservation and preservation of cultural and natural heritage requires participation of experts from various fields. They need to be duly aware of the cultural, social, and political histories of the heritage sites. Principles of applied history are useful in creating the awareness among them. So, when we say that the preservation and conservation of the natural heritage sites is or cultural heritage sites is very important. So it is very important. There are so many people associated to it, those who contribute to it. So all these people should have a thorough knowledge of the uh, social, cultural, and political histories of that particular related site or particular related thing. For example, we can take an example of the movies. So now, in the making of a movie, it is not only the heroes or the heroines which we see on the screen or the characters which we see on the screen, but then there are so many other people who contribute a long way in making of a film, like the sound recorders, then the um, backdrop, then so many titles we see before the movie or at the end of the movie. So many people contribute with their expertise. We have experts for playback singing, we have experts for sound recording, we have experts for sound mixing as well. Then there are lyricists, then there are people who uh, directors, then there are people who really make the give the feel to the entire movie. Like if it is related to a particular era, that relevant things are used. Like if it is an if a particular scene is based on the olden era or about the past, then the cars or the bikes which were used then, those antique pieces or those antique things are also used in the movie. So having the knowledge of those particular things, so when we say that if a particular scene is relating to the past, then the related vehicles used are should be according. Then the that time trending clothes, that type of clothes are also to be worn. Then the music which was prevalent that time, same type of music, same type of singing style should also be used. So it is very important for so many people to be hired, and so many people contribute with their expertise. Like the people related in sound music should have their thorough knowledge of sound mixing for from that era as well. The lyricist should also write the songs which may seem to be belonging to that particular era. Similarly, the sets which are designed should also relate to that area. So the knowledge of that particular time in the history, how were the trending things, or how was the fashion of clothes, earrings, hairstyles, or dressing, and then the choreography, everything has to be in accordance. So the knowledge of that particular time or that particular era is very important in their respective fields as well. So we can see that there are so many people who contribute to the making of one single thing, and their expert knowledge of their particular field in the in those eras as well are very important. Thus, the operations necessary for the conservation, preservation, and development of heritage site can be handled without causing any change in the original site. So, when we discuss about, or when we say about the preservation and conservation of the natural heritage sites, so it is very important to know what era it belonged to, about the history of that area, the materials used, the quality of or the peculiarity of that particular monument or thing or tools or whatever it is. So the peculiarity of that, or the chemicals used in that, or the natural things which were used in that. So knowing all the details about that, it is very important. And after knowing all the details, at the time of preservation or at the time of conservation, when they are taking care of the things and they are renovating the things, it is very important that the originality of that particular heritage site should not vanish. Like, I can give you an example. Like, we all earlier also we discussed that your ancestral house, if you are very fond of your ancestral house, like it is so nice, it is so different, it belongs to the olden times wherein the architecture was different, the planning was very different. And sometime it so happened that after a few years, when you go to your ancestral house, it is totally demolished and made into a modern, very westernized house. So I think we won't really like to go to a modern westernized house. On the contrary, that house was more favorite to you or very dear to you because it belonged to your ancestors and it was built in that same style. So even if the repairing work has to be done, if there are, now with the time, the it is quite possible and it is very natural that it may deteriorate, it may have some damages, and it may need some repairing work. So if, for example, a pipeline is broken, so while changing the pipes, you have to see what type of pipes were used, where are they connected from, wherein they originate and where all they move around from. So you'll have to hire a plumber who knows the exact, who has the exact knowledge of that particular house or that particular time, and which things will be needed to be replaced and what quality of things will be needed to replace it, so that it matches the original or the earlier one and it does not look very different. So there are so many things which are very important to be considered, very necessary to be considered at the time of development and preservation of the natural heritage sites. There should not be any changes in the original state. The local social structure and psychology of the local people, challenges faced by them in the present situation, and their expectations can be surveyed in detail. What are the expectations of the local people? What is their psychology? What do they feel about it? That is very important, because the people who are involved in the work of preservation and conservation will come, do their work and go, but later on it is to be maintained and it is to be managed by the local people only. So it is very important that what they feel, what is their psychology, and what is their opinion, what are the challenges faced by them, all these should be considered very importantly, and for that a survey can be taken in detail. Due precautions can be taken to avoid hurting sentiments of the local people. The sentiments of the local people are very important. It should be very carefully handled and it should be seen that they are not hurt while completing the project, while completing the projects of conservation, preservation and development of a heritage sites. So what happens, like if some preservation, conservation of any site is going on, and that time the people are not taken care of, the local people who are staying there, if their feelings or what they are facing the problems, if that is not bothered about, they may not cooperate, and without their cooperation, without their support, doing anything in that place becomes very very difficult and challenging. So it is the local people who are most aware of all the details, so it is very important that they should be taken into consideration. Participation of the local people in the project can be facilitated if the local people there, they also participate in this process of conservation and preservation. It would be very grateful, it would be of very great help, because those are the people who can who know the resources better, who know the details of that particular heritage sites better. So their help is always welcome. Systematic plan can be designed to employ the local skills in a creative way and create better opportunities of livelihood. If we accommodate the local people in a particular during the preservation and conservation of a particular site, it will not only give them an opportunity of livelihood, but opportunity to earn money, but also the local skills can be used in a creative way. of affiliated professional fields. Now, what are the fields in which are related or which are connected to the professional fields which are connected to history, applied history? Knowledge of history can be supportive in the decision making with regard to the respective legal provisions and public policies in the following fields. Okay, the knowledge of history can be very helpful in the decision making as far as the legal provisions or the public policies in the following fields are related. Museums and archives. Now, museums, you all know, it is a place where things are kept related to a particular king, a kingdom, or the things which were used by that king, or the palaces of the king. So all these things contribute to the museum. But archives are those wherein anything which is related to history or which is of historical importance is kept in the archives. Preservation and conservation of natural historical site. The preservation and conservation of historical sites is also during this also we have just now discussed that during this preservation and conservation also so many people are needed, and their expert knowledge related to the past of that particular site or that particular monument is very important. uh, Tourism and hospitality. Then in tourism and hospitality, tourism, you can see that tourist guides are needed. Then there are so many like if you go to Rajasthan, the hotels there, they will have those traditional touch in them. They will be wearing those pagdis, I don't know, the headgears, which are very typical, and that will give you the feel of that traditional essence of that particular place. So knowledge of this is very important in the tourism and hospitality field, which can be best used in these fields. Entertainment and mass media. Entertainment also we just now discussed when I gave you the example of a movie or a cinema. And mass media also, sometimes there are the birth anniversaries or death anniversaries of few prominent people, few national heroes, or well-known personalities who have brought a drastic change in our country, or any country for that matter. So about them, when we have to write, we have to go back to the history, and that is where we come to know about more details about them. And sometimes there are columns in the newspapers also, or in the news channels also, we can see on particular days of importance, 100 years back or 50 years back, what happened during the matches also, sports also. We can see that this record was created in so and so year. So that is, when it is about the past, it is about the history, it is the history of that particular sport. So that is also needed always. About these 4 points, that is museums and archives, prevention and conservation of historical sites, we are going to study in more details in ninth chapter. The chapter entirely is based on this particular line. Then tourism and hospitality, we are going to study again in detail. We have a chapter in related to this tourism and history, or tourism and hospitality, that is chapter number 8. And entertainment and mass media, we are going to study as an entire chapter, chapter number 5. So your concepts of how history is related to hospitality and tourism and entertainment and mass media, and of course the preservation and conservation of historical sites, that museums and archives, all these concepts will be still clear when we go through these chapters. Did you know the earliest museum, that is 6th century BCE, is in the world was discovered during the excavation at the city of Ur in Mesopotamia. The excavations were conducted by Sir Leopold Woolley. This museum was built by the princes of Mesopotamia Her name was Annie Galdi. She herself was the curator of the museum. Now, when there was an excavation at the city of Ur in Mesopotamia, this museum was discovered. Now, excavation is when there is something is to be constructed or built. The land is digged. When the land is digged, they find some remains of the past. So this remains of the museum of the 6th century BCE were found when the excavations at the site of the Ur city in Mesopotamia. And this, later on when they studied, they came to know that this was built by, this was okay, so this excavation was done by Sir Leonard Woolley, and this museum was built by the princess, and her name, Princess of Mesopotamia, and her name was Annie Galdi, and she was herself the curator of this museum. Curator is the keeper or the in charge of this museum. The noteworthy feature of that museum is the clay tablets inscribed with the description of exhibited artifacts. As I told you earlier, that museums, you all know, in the museums things are kept of the historical importance or about the kings or the queens or the princes who have used those things or what was the things they used. So in the peculiarity of this museum is that there are clay tablets wherein with inscription of the description of exhibited artifacts. So whatever artifacts are displayed there, they have about what is their details or their description of those artifacts is done on these clay objects, which you can see in the clay tablet. You have in the orange box the picture. So similarly, it is written on these clay tablets what about describing about the exhibited artifacts. This is the Indian Museum of Kolkata. The Indian Museum at Kolkata was founded by the Asiatic Society in 1814 CE. Nathaniel Wallich, a Danish botanist, was the founder of the first curator of the museum. The photograph of the museum seen here is dated to 1905. So this photo was clicked in 1905. The museum has three main departments, that is the art, archaeology and anthropology. Other affiliated departments are conservation, publication, photography, exhibition presentation, model making, training, library, security. So this is a museum of Indian Museum in Kolkata, and the founder of this museum was Nathaniel Wallich, who was also the first curator, who was the first in charge of this museum. And this museum has this founder was a botanist. What is a botanist? It is a field of science relating to the study of plants. So he was a botanist, and he was the first curator. This museum has three main departments, that is arts, which you all know, archaeology is again relating to the archaeology, and anthropology. Anthropology is the study and development of cultures and traditions, human societies, cultural development and of human societies, that study. And the other affiliated, that is the other related departments are attached departments are conservation, publication, photography, and exhibition presentation, model making, training, library, and security. Here's a yellow box saying it is interesting to know archives preserved preserve and store old documents, official records, old films, etc. The National Archive of India is in Delhi. Every state in India maintains its archives independently. Okay, now this is what I was telling you. Archives are, this is very important. There can be a question of 1 mark or 1 mark. What are archives? So you can definitely write here. Archives preserve and store old documents, official records, old films, etc. And the National Archive of India is in Delhi. Besides that, every state in India maintains its archive independently. Archives with a distinct purpose. The main office of the National Film Archives of India is located in Pune, Maharashtra. It was established in 1964 as the media unit of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting of the Indian government. It served three objectives: to search and obtain rare Indian films and to preserve the heritage for the benefit of future generations, to categorize the important aspects of films, to create documentation and catalogs, and carry out research in the field, to establish a center for dissemination of films culture. Okay, the last objective was to establish a center for dissemination of film culture. Dissemination is to spreading information. So spreading information about the films culture. Every field mentioned here requires expert personnel with specialized skills. For example, architects, engineers, historians, archaeologists, museum curators, sociologists, archive management professionals, legal experts, skilled photographers, etc. Of course, this is just a representative list. The help of experts from many more fields is required. These experts need to have adequate knowledge of the ancient sites, the historical background of the structural remains and artifacts. Projects in the field of applied history can create various opportunities for these professionals. Every field mentioned here requires expert personnel. So, mentioned here means we have seen that tourism and hospitality management, then preservation and conservation of archaeological sites or the monuments, so archaeological department, then mass media. So all these fields which are mentioned here requires expert professionals with specialized skills. So these needs expert professionals with their specialized skills in those particular areas. For example, we need architects so that they can have the knowledge of the past architectural techniques which were used in the past, and they can be very helpful. Engineers, historians, archaeologists, museum curators, sociologists, archive management professionals, legal experts, skilled photographers, etc. Why we need all these people? Because of course it is just a representative list. These are not all the people that are whose expertise is needed. There are still so many people whose expertise is needed, whose professional knowledge or is needed, but we cannot list them all. So these are just the very few ones which we have listed here. The help of experts from many more fields is required. These experts need to have adequate knowledge of the ancient sites, the historical background. They should have sufficient knowledge of the historic ancient sites, the old sites which are discovered or which are already discovered, which are lately discovered or which are already discovered. They should have the knowledge of those sites, the historical background of the structural remains and artifacts. whatever artifacts are uh, recovered, or the structural remains which are found during excavation, they should have all the knowledge of that particular artifacts or the structural remains. Projects in the field of applied history can create various opportunities for these professionals. So when there are projects related to these various fields, applied history can be very useful, and it can have very good variety of opportunities for these professionals. In this lesson, we learnt about the role of applied history in public training programs, for understanding the importance of history, for creating for creating social awareness regarding the conservation, preservation of our cultural and natural heritage, using knowledge of history for this purpose to enhance the professional skills of people and to develop industrial commercial fields, to carry out preparatory work and plan for effective implementation of heritage projects, etc. So for so many things, the knowledge of history, applied history, is so very useful and beneficial. We have seen that, and it is essential to avoid vandalizing of historical and public places, and to ensure that for the they are preserved for the benefit of future generations. Okay, it is essential, it is very necessary to avoid vandalizing of historical public places. Vandalizing is deliberately destroy or damage, purposefully destroy or damage of historic and public places, and also to ensure that they are preserved. It is also very important to preserve for the benefit of the future generations. I hope this lesson is very clear to you all, understood everything. You can definitely go through the chapter once again, read the lesson. All these boxes are also very important. The knowledge in these boxes is very important. Some of them are included in the questions as well. So, and these boxes are also very important. So I will always request you, and I would always tell you to read these all boxes very carefully, at least 2 to 3 times. Read the chapter twice, because we have done this chapter in 2 parts. So it is very important that you read the chapter again and again, so that you understand it properly, and solve the question answers. When you read the lesson again and again, there are few points which are very important, and those can be asked as in objectives, like match the pairs, sorry, rather identify the wrong pair, fill in the blanks, or the flow charts, webs. For that, it is very useful. Also, it will enhance your knowledge and improve your perspective as well. So please go through the lesson. um, I'll give you the homework as well. So I think, thank you for attending the lecture. Thank you so much. Read the lesson carefully. Thank you.